Hey everybody, Hunter, Fisher, Trapper, Trader, Guide, Scout, and Interpreter, and Just a Country Cook, Steve Hall here in Nashville, Tennessee, along with pretty Miss Sheila doing a great job with that camera. Thank you, Sheila.
You're welcome.
I got 8 strips of bacon in this little Dutch oven here cooking up. Just got it nice and crisp. And I cut it up in little pieces instead of cutting it into strips and putting it in there and trying to turn it and doing all that stuff. I just cut it into little pieces that are going to go in there anyway. And I got a bunch of other ingredients. And today we're going to make loaded potato soup. Great stuff. Come on over, let's get started. Get my slotted spoon here. Dig the rest of these little pieces of bacon out of here. And I want to leave the drippings in there because I'm going to make a roux. And if you're like me and you didn't know what a roux was, well, we have a video on our channel how to make a roux. It's not going to be very dark today because we're going to just make a roux enough for our potato soup. Now we got there all of our bacon crumblies over here on the side, and we've left the bacon grease in there. I'm going to put in 4 tablespoons of butter, which is a half a stick. And if you're like me, and for years I never noticed that right on the side of the stick of butter, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tablespoons. So we're using half of that. 4 tablespoons of butter, and we're going to put our 1 yellow onion all diced up in there. And when you dice these onions up, remember, that's how big the chunks are going to be when you eat your soup, so cut it accordingly. Now, because I'm going to add our equal amounts of flour that we have in butter, and that's how you make a roux, 50-50, whether it's bacon grease and flour, butter and flour, oil and flour, it doesn't matter. And we got this on medium heat because you never want to burn your roux. I'm going to switch to a whisk here. And we're going to cook this for a couple of minutes and get this diced up onion kind of nice and soft. Be right back with you. Now when you're doing a roux like this, for whatever dish you're making, don't get in a hurry because you don't want to burn the roux. If you burn the roux, you've just ruined the entire recipe. Now we got just a little bit of color on here, which is what we were looking for. Really take your time. Don't go any higher than medium to, medium-high heat is really pushing it. So now it's time to add our equal parts of flour, which is 4 tablespoons. A little bit in there. So remember now, we left our bacon grease in there, which is probably just 2 or 3 tablespoons at the most for 8 slices of bacon. And then we got 4 tablespoons of butter and 4 tablespoons of flour. Now don't stop stirring because you'll burn the roux. I've got this on medium to medium-high heat because I'm wanting to get a little color on this onion, which it's doing real nice. And let me stir this for another couple of minutes to get our roux happening good. Be right back again. No sense you sitting here watching this simmer for 2 minutes. See you in a little bit. Alright, it's only been 2 minutes and this is looking really nice. Time to add some of our liquid. Now I've got 3 cups of chicken stock and I've got 3 cups of whole milk. Easy to remember, 3 and 3. And don't worry about remembering any of these ingredients because I'm going to put them in the description box below. I'm not going to make you go to a website to get the recipe. You just click on it. And sometimes it'll say show more. You click on it, drops down below this video. And then you can just copy and paste the recipe. And we're ready for our milk first. And I don't have I've got a 4-cup measuring cup over here, so I got 3 cups of chicken broth, and all I had was a 2 and a 1, so I've got it kind of split here. I'm going to add our milk first, put in the 1 cup first, and get to stirring this. Looking good. This loaded potato soup is just absolutely delicious. You're going to love it. Now you'll notice that even though we poured that cup in there of milk, look at it thicken up here. So it's crying out for some more. Almost like making gravy and biscuits and gravy in the morning. Same process. Look at it getting thick. So we're going to keep adding our milk here. Am I splashing over the lid there? Or over the rim there, Sheila?
Looks good.
Looks all right. A little more. Boy, it thickens. I was always amazed the very first time I ever made a roux of flour and oil or grease or butter, and then I added milk. I couldn't believe that you could put 3 or 4 cups of milk into that little 4 tablespoons of flour mixture, and it would still get thick at the end of the process. So we'll put the rest of our milk in, which was 3 cups. This was the 2er and that was the 1er over there. So because I didn't have another big, I love the outside of this cooking surface because this don't get hot out here. It only gets hot underneath there. That's that precision induction or whatever it's called cooktop. Now I'm going to turn it up a little bit to medium high here because I want to build a little bit of heat in here. We don't have to worry about burning the roux now so much. And we're going to add our 3 cups of chicken broth. That we can pour right in. Yes, sir. Looking good. Okay, now over here I've got 4 potatoes, and they're kind of like those, I don't know, bacon potatoes about that big. I peeled them up and cubed them up, and whether it's, you know, clam chowder or potato soup, I don't like big pieces of potato to eat. I want smaller chunks, so they're kind of only like little 1/2-inch cubes at the biggest. And I've got 4 potatoes in there, or right at 1.5 pounds of potatoes. Let me mix this up just for another second or two. Now we're going to add our 4 potatoes that we have cubed up in there. And now I'm going, whoops, did he dive over the top there, Sheila? Now I'm going to go from my whisk back to my spoon. And we're going to bring this to a simmer, and we're going to simmer this for 20 minutes before we add some more delicious goodies. So we'll see you in about 20 minutes. Let's take a peek here. It's only been about 10 minutes. And I'll tell you, I pulled a few of those potatoes out and cut them in even smaller pieces because I like not only to have smaller pieces when I'm eating it, but it cooks quicker. And look at that, flour is still doing its thing after we put in a total of 6 cups of liquid. 3 cups of chicken broth and 3 cups of whole milk, and it's still getting nice and thick. And we haven't even added the cheese or the sour cream yet. So let's give this another 10 minutes because I just checked one of these potatoes and they're just a little firm in the middle, but getting close to being soft enough to have delicious loaded potato soup. See you in another 10 minutes. It's been another 10 minutes. I just checked the potatoes off camera. They're nice and soft. Now it starts getting good here. We're going to put in 1/2 cup of sour cream. Stir that in there. Oh, Lord. Getting better and better. We're going to put in, now I measured this out, it's 1.5 cups of cheddar cheese. Now you can use mild cheddar, sharp cheddar, but I actually buy medium cheddar when it's hanging on the shelf because then it fits in about all the recipes. So we're going to put in 1.5 cups of cheddar cheese. You can use sharp, you can use mild, you can do what I do and use medium, but there's 1.5 cups. Oh man, that's why they call it loaded potato soup. Now let's dump in our 8 slices of bacon that have been crumbled up and sitting on this paper towel over here. I want to get the rest of them little goodies in there. There we are. Did I say 8 cups? I meant 8 slices of bacon. Did I say 8 cups, Sheila? I can't remember. But it's only 8 slices. Huh? Me either. I can't either, but doesn't it look terrific? Wow-wee. Now, after we get those ingredients in there, we're going to simmer it for another 5 minutes to let all that bacon and sour cream and cheese really melt. Look at the color has even changed to a nice golden color, and it thickened up with more sour cream. Lord, whew. I'm going to turn that down on low to low medium, and then we're going to let it just sit there and bubble like it's doing right there for another 5 minutes. That smells so wonderful. It's been about another 5 minutes. Now we're in the home stretch. Time for a little bit of seasoning. I've only got a half a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of pepper for this pretty good sized little cooker here, and that's going to be enough to get us started, because there's nothing worse than making a whole big pot full of soup or anything and it's too salty, or it's got too much pepper in it, or whatever, because you can't take it out, but you can always add it. So salt and pepper to taste, and I'm going to do that right now. Let me get that salt and pepper incorporated in there good, but just start out with a half a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of pepper, and that'll kind of bring the level up, because you do have a little bit of salt in your bacon, and that cheese adds some flavor itself. So let's try this here. Let me just, boy, that's really close. You know me and the pepper, I'm going to go with just a little more. That looks like a lot, but it's not in that big pot there. And I don't know for sure if I want to add a touch more salt, because it's really close. And boy, once you go by that perimeter, you can't back it out. They say you can put potatoes in something to take out some of the salt or heat or whatever, but we're making potatoes, so that ain't going to work. I don't think it needs more salt at all. I think it needs this little ladle right here to ladle some of this delicious potato soup. Look at that in here. And I've got two bowls, because there's two people in this room, and one of them is standing behind that camera, and I want her to come and taste this wonderful product. I think we can leave that right there. Now I've got two spoons here. One is the big honking spoon for me, which I don't need, and one I've been sampling with, so I'm going to have Sheila go get us two new spoons, and we're going to dive into these bowls here. Thank you, Sheila. We got her little teeny spoon, and my man-sized spoon, I got to have that. Now, before I have her come over here, we're going to do the final little dressing here. We're going to garnish this with a little bit of spring onions, and that's plenty right there. And Sheila, I'm going to have you come over here and try this. All right, Sheila, come on over here. Let's try this stuff. Now, I'd normally ask her, what do you think? But I already know what she's going to say. Which spoon you want? Do you want this one? No.
I want this one.
That's what I thought.
I don't like lifting weights while I eat.
First of all, we give thanks for such a wonderful meal here. We're both healthy. We're on our way to a wine tasting for our Shotgun Red's Touch of Sweet Wine. And life is good. Well, thank you very much. Amen.
Amen.
Let's give this a try here. Now be careful. Them little taters hold a lot of heat, so they'll still be hot, but boy.
They're tender.
They are tender, and isn't that just absolutely delicious with those little pieces of bacon in there and sour cream and cheese, and goodness gracious, you got to try this stuff. Loaded, huh?
The roux that you got.
Yes. Yeah, it's so creamy. I'm going to quit smacking on camera so I can tell you, please subscribe to our channel. Little Shotgun Red's face will pop over here in just a second. Over here, another recipe will show up, but I'm going to move it from here down here so it doesn't cover up pretty Miss Sheila's pretty face. And we hope you subscribe. We hope you check out some of our other recipes. And is this the best loaded potato soup you ever made? If it ain't, it ought to be. We'll see you next time right here on Cooking with Shotgun Red. Now I'm going to go back to smacking. Sorry about that earlier, but it just got to be what it's got to be.
Good.
Mm-hmm.